What up, world? Fly Eagles Fly. Welcome to this great live reaction video. Damn it, I'm kind of lost for words after that performance, but welcome to the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast, y'all. This show is Anthony Wright, coming to you live and direct from Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well as on Substack. Hopping right into it though, great fucking victory for the Philadelphia Eagles today. A lot of things I'm definitely going to touch on in this reaction video that I thought last week Philadelphia would have to do to have continued success and to carry it forward to be in position, to potentially win a division or make a run in, potentially in January. There were some things I thought that they would definitely need to change to get better, to have better continuity and better flow on offense. Right now, I'm catching an eye on the Bills and Seahawks game. Bills are currently winning that game. Weather's kind of affecting that one a bit, but fuck all that. We're going to hop into the main point. Starting off the first half. Don't know if anybody outside of me had noticed this, but did anybody notice the first half ended in 20 minutes? I mean, the Bengals held the ball for a while, were just driving down the field, getting all their little short passes, getting whatever they wanted, got in position, scored a touchdown with Jamar Chase, and before we knew it, the first quarter was just damn near over. Excuse me, I need some of that good old red wine. But nonetheless, it was over so damn quickly. By the time the Eagles got the ball back, they got in the scoring range for the Bengals, but didn't really get any points by the end of the first quarter again. But not gonna harp on that too much. It was startling for me because looking at how this game ended compared to how it started was dramatically different. Joe Burrow was killing Philadelphia, killing Philly's defense. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I have the stats, and I'll show you here, where the Bengals passing offense was ranked throughout the season. And how, this is something that Philadelphia definitely had to take into account for. That this is what's been saving the Bengals throughout the year. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Gesicki, Joe Burrow having a lights out year. That's really what's been saving the Bengals. They have had really absolutely no running game, as you will see right here in these stats. But that being said, it was interesting because Joe Burrow was killing Philadelphia in the passing game. And it was like him and Gesicki was getting whatever they wanted. It was just like dinking and dunking. He was just knifing away. And I was interested to see how Vic Fangio and the Eagles defense were going to adjust to be able to be in position to have this ready. Because I didn't think they were going to be ready. Seeing how a guy like Burrow can dissect the defense, he could turn a great defense into a shitty one quick. That being said, something I pointed out last week, I said this running game, this rushing attack is legitimate. It cannot be sneezed at. It cannot be scoffed at. Saquon Barkley is having a phenomenal year. This offensive line is still playing well. The way things are shaping up and they're playing out, there may be a chance or a situation where you may have to rely on this running game more and be a running team. Well, interesting enough, first half of the game, Eagles were moving the ball, quick passing game, running the ball, and they had to wind up settling for a field goal on their first full drive. But it was very interesting to see how they were coming out and mixing it up. Burrow and them get down the field again, but what was interesting was McPherson missed that field goal. At that point, it's 10-3. It was kind of weird because the game was still kind of okay. Eagles still in it, And one thing that's been kind of pissing me off with Philadelphia this year is they've had drives where they've had small dumbass penalties that have killed momentum. Where it's like, and give you an example, there were several drives today early in the first half where second and short, second and 5, penalty, now second and 7, second and 11. Third down, Jalen Hurts converts a big rush and, gets 9, 10 yards on the run. A holding or illegal man downfield, ineligible man downfield. Now it's a 10-yard penalty. Now you're 10 yards back. Now it's a second and 22 or a third and 22. It's just, dumbass penalties that were kind of, biting them, catching them in the ass. And like, it sucked because honestly, had they not had the penalties like they were having early, probably would have had a bigger lead because it was a very clean game outside of that. And at that point, those penalties were on 2 consecutive drives. So it was kind of startling to see how Philly was. Didn't really know if it was a pressure or if they were still trying to wait to figure out what Cincinnati was throwing at them or adjustments. Then, to add insult to injury, you got Tyler Steen getting that unnecessary roughness. A.J. Brown, still doing what he do, getting a big first down on that 3rd and long. And at that point, Eagles had 3 penalties for 30 yards. So the whole penalty thing, again, 10 yards a clip is costing you. But that being said, A.J. Brown doing what he did on that drive, first half, he's just been a fucking monster. Bodying Cam Taylor-Britt, making him work for everything, and, put us in a position where, offense gets in the red zone, they score. Now, 10-10 game, okay? Jalen Hurts scores on a rush touchdown, cool. Here's the thing, though, I think people don't really realize. If you would have told me, hey, listen, first half, it's going to be a little bit of back and forth, but Jalen Hurts is going to be under the center most of the game. Okay. Jalen Hurts is going to look clean from the pocket. Okay, all right. Jalen Hurts is going to make some big-time throws. You like, okay, all right, we'll see. All right, he's done it, all right. It wasn't just the fact of those things. What it really was just the decisiveness and the decision-making that he's had. It's kind of starting to show that he's listening and taking to the coaching, because this today was just marvelous. And it speaks to the formula that I've been saying that last week that they needed to adopt and abide by. 20 throws, 20, 25 throws, or 25 to 30 throws, 20 to 30, anywhere in that range, 20 to 30 passes. Feed Saquon. Divvy up the ball elsewhere between AJ, Smitty, the tight ends, and watch what happens. But like I said, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but keep going into it. Third quarter was when the game really, to me, started to really change. Philly gets drives down the field to start the drive, and Jalen Hurts tush push. They had to review it because, it was like the ball over the line, and it was kind of like, close because I didn't think he got it. I thought they was going to go for it on 4th down at the end of halftime, but they gave him the touchdown, and going into it, start of the third quarter, you drive downfield, another tush push. Again, click on gas. Okay, touchdown. We got a touchdown lead, 7-point lead. We'll see what happens. The Bengals then follow that up, again, where you're still in the mindset of a shootout. The Bengals then follow that up where it's like, okay, back and forth. Burrow's hitting them with the mix of the running pass. You got, Chase Brown getting on the action. Iasiva's getting on the action. You got Gesicki getting on the action. Jamar Chase. So the ball's moving. Cincinnati gets the ball downfield. Chase Brown scores, ties the game up. Clearly, you can see this is still a football game. Game was in it. Then Philadelphia comes back and scores again. Jalen Hurts deep ball to Smitty. Devontae Smith. And I mean, again, it was remarkable, which leads me all the way to that point to say all of this. The turning point for this game, and you kind of heard, and it's funny because sometimes I don't listen to the game with the audio on. Sometimes I don't really want to hear those fucking announcers talk. Sometimes those guys just bloviate and dick ride and just, oh, this guy's great. And he's not even really playing up to snuff, or, oh, this guy's played great for 6 games, but today he sucks. Well, we're going to talk about the past 6 games. I don't really like listening to the audio too much. I like watching the film and, learning from that. That being said, when you're Cincinnati and I'm listening to Charles Davis low as hell in the background on my speaker say, I don't know if you go for it right now. You haven't really run the ball well all day. You ain't really going for it. And if I'm correct, just to make sure I'm not losing my mind, because I wanted to see those percentages in 3rd down. Because again, Charles Davis says this, and then boom, defense stops Zach Moss, stuffed him on the 3rd and 1. He's got nothing. And then it was kind of almost, I don't even want to say at that point it was desperation. It was a pride call. It was almost like Zach Taylor was saying, like, you know what, fuck that. We're going to go tit for tat with you today. We're not going to allow you to just do whatever you want. We can do this too. Okay. And, you know, a lot of guys don't really realize you got to answer to the challenge when that happens. You got to kind of really be ready and really, really address things and not really like duck. And what I thought was amazing was on that play, you get stopped by Zach Moss. Okay. Zach Moss already done put you down. I mean, Zach Moss got put down, Brandon Graham, and Zach Bourne tackled him. He's done. Okay. You can't run the ball, can't move. You haven't been able to run the ball all game. To add insult to injury to be disrespectful, you don't even try to get Jamar Chase beyond the sticks. You tried to get him in, I guess, a screen or whatever it was. It didn't work. And Cooper DeJean tackles him for a 2-yard loss, which was, to me, the most significant tackle of the fucking game. Because if you miss that tackle there and they're able to get momentum, they still in it. They still feel like they got a shot. They still feel like this game is theirs and they can compete. What I was astonished by was how that defense stood up in that second half. Credit to Vic Fangio for having them boys ready. Credit to that defense for stepping up to the task. And hey, listen, I mean, make no mistake. Cincinnati can throw the ball. The problem that Cincinnati has had all season is they can't run the football. They're 27th in rush attempts, 28th in yards. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable for any type of winning football. It's not sustainable for any team to really put themselves in position to be winning at any point if you can't substantially run the football at a sufficient clip. So, though that being said, that being known going into the game, going for it right there, I feel like Zach Taylor kind of cost the team that game at that point. He kind of put, Cincinnati on notice like, hey, look, we're going for it, and we don't give a fuck what happens, but kind of came back to bite him in the ass. That must happen, and it's funny because I write in my notes, Eagles must capitalize. I'm wondering how the hell are they going to turn this around? Right after that, they settle for field goals. They're like, okay, game's not over. Still a game, but at least it's a 10-point lead. The thing that got me though was, and it was weird, what gave me a little hope that this game could turn and potentially be something even crazier was when you saw that the Eagles were 5 of 8 on third down. Now, we know that each week teams work week to week to, work on different things. I think what was astonishing, though, was last week, and if I remember correctly, looking at it, guys, I believe the Eagles were 1 of 13 or 1 of 14 last week on third down, and that was just fucking horrible. I mean, even though they blew out the Giants, that's still horrible on third down. That being said, 5 of 8 at that point on third downs, you're converting at a high clip. And then, just right here, just looking at the stats, oh my God, yeah, I mean, both teams were killing it on third down. Eagles were 6 of 11, Bengals were 10 of 13. So you got that, the Eagles stopping them on that fourth down was the difference. Yeah, look at it right here. That's the game. 1 of 1, Eagles on fourth down, 0 of 1, Bengals on fourth down. They ran a similar total amount of plays. Eagles had 59, Bengals had 58. Total yards, I mean, you got Bengals with 280, Eagles with almost 400 yards. So you got 200 passing, 200 rushing, not bad at all. The passing wasn't even that bad. I mean, you figured Eagles 236 passing yards, Bengals 222. Again, this game really came down to the fact of fourth down. That fourth down decision. Philly had went for it on fourth down or made a decision to go for it early, and it was paying off. And I just feel like Zach Taylor felt that pressure and was like, you know what? I got to do something right here because, and I don't understand because the game was tied. It wasn't like the game was out of hand or it was like, fuck it. You know what I mean? What else do you do? The game was tied. People were like, oh, go for it, go for it. That's why it's not always well to go for it in those situations because you give a team momentum. And then to add insult to injury, Cincinnati gets the ball back right after that possession. Deep ball to Jamar Chase. Isaiah Rodgers gets up, gets a hands on it. I'm thinking, and I'm telling y'all while I'm watching it, I'm under the impression the ball gets batted out of bounds. I notice it gets quiet. I see Eagles players celebrating, not even realizing what's going on. I see Jamar Chase kind of snap the straps down. And I'm like, Don't tell me we just intercepted this ball. And then to see C.J. Gardner-Johnson with that interception, I mean, the joy that I showed. I mean, I couldn't even, I was yelling at the top of my damn lungs because I couldn't believe he pulled that off. And I knew then the momentum has swung. The momentum has swung. So, again, shout out to, Gardner-Johnson for getting that pick. It was crucial. Shout out to Rodgers on the deflection. But what I thought was even more beautiful about it was the methodical drive that Philly used to execute late in that game. Heavy mix of Saquon Barkley. And I, again, y'all know me. I'd be remiss if I don't bring up Saquon. Like I said, mix of Saquon in the short passing game. Smitty was getting involved, AJ Brown was getting involved, Grant Calcaterra, definitely talk about him at some point within this segment. Like, again, just amazing. And Saquon Barkley, 22 carries, 108 yards. Longest run, 19 yards. So, definitely was getting fed the rock. And look at that. Jalen, 20 attempts. So, it goes to what I was saying. 20 to 30 times. Feed Saquon most of those times. It's going to work out. I mean, and then look at how you put an exclamation point on this game. Tush push at the end. Jalen Hurts gets in the end zone, a rushing touchdown. It was the drive that I think if you're an Eagles fan, but more or less this team, I feel like that was the drive you needed to see against an elite quarterback with elite weapons. You needed to see that, we could put teams the fuck away. That not only can we score, but we could score at a high rate. We could put teams away. And on top of it, we could really execute at a frenetic pace that puts teams in pressure situations where they got to kind of answer for shit that they're don't really have to answer for at that moment. That's what the illusion of pressure will do. I mean, again, you're watching this play out, and I'm sitting there like, okay, Cincinnati's going to get a stop. Oh, shit, Cincinnati couldn't get a stop. Like, it's a 10-point lead. We're not going to push it. Oh, shit, we're getting further and further down the field. Saquon is ripping off 19-yard runs. Saquon's ripping 21-yard runs. You saw it. This is what this team can be. This is what this team is capable of. Again, I reiterate, 20 to 30 times from Jalen Hurts passing the football. Feed Saquon Barkley, divvy it up between the wide receivers and the tight ends, and watch everything flow and coalesce together. Saquon Barkley's put himself in MVP conversation with the season he's had, with the weeks he's put up as far as rushing totals, and what he's done as far as production. He's in the MVP conversation. It's without a question. It's without a question. If you don't think he's at least in the conversation, you're just a fucking hater at this point, because he's just been a fucking baller. And then to add insult to injury for the Cincinnati Bengals, they get the ball back. Gesicki gets the ball punched out by Zach Bourne and Nakobe Dean. Zach Bourne recovers. And defense just, kind of put the exclamation point on it. Offense wrote it out, kicked a late field goal, made it 37-17, for that to be the final. But it was more importantly, what was so impressive was how the offense played in that second half. From the end of the first quarter to the second half, how the defense responded and stepped up to the challenge. Getting that crucial interception when they needed, getting that crucial stop when they needed, and not folding. Not folding to what Josh Burrow was doing. Because again, the attack that Josh Burrow was presenting them was fierce. They didn't really have an answer for it. But it was damn good to see. It was damn good to see the Eagles responded and pulled out the victory. Big fucking win. Big fucking win against Cincinnati. And puts you right in the thick of that division race. And, and again, it's not that the division is the sole thing for Philadelphia. But make no mistake. You win a division. You get a good record now. You're in a fight because you got Detroit with a great record. Green Bay's in there. There's a lot of teams with only 2 losses. So you got to really start separating yourself and pulling away from the pack. This is the point now of the year where you got to start racking up W's. Again, shout out to Jalen Hurts today. Jalen Hurts has been under a lot of ridicule. I mentioned even last week in a segment video how he missed open receivers, in that Giants game. That being said, he only had 4 incompletions today. He was 16 of 20 today. That's how good he was. That's how good. 236 yards passing. And to give you an idea of the ball distribution, you had 16 receptions for 236 yards from the Eagles receiving corps. You got Devontae Smith with 685 and a touchdown on 7 targets. So there's only 1 ball he didn't catch. A.J. Brown, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 1 ball he didn't catch, but he had 84 yards receiving. Grant Calcaterra, another week, Grant Calcaterra showing up in lieu of Dallas Goedert being injured. Shows you why the Eagles were heavy on this guy and why they wanted this guy as the number 2 tight end. 3 receptions, 58 yards, on 3 targets. So he caught everything that was thrown to him. Jack Stoll got in on the action. Saquon had a catch. I mean, it's just, again, and you got a touchdown. You only got 1 touchdown out of those groups, but it was the ball movement in the running game. Again, you almost had 200 yards from your rushing, and you had definitely had over 200 yards from your receiving total. So, again, fantastic offensive output, but the defense. Excuse me, I said Zach Bourne was the one that recovered that fumble late against Gesicki. It was Nakobe Dean who recovered it. But, again, defense. You only had one sack on Joe Burrow, and it was pretty much split between Nolan Smith and Milton Williams. So take that for what it's worth. But what I loved was you just saw the pressure. You saw finally when they started to get to him, they made him flush out the pocket. And listen, Joe Burrow is fucking amazing. He's going to make plays. He's going to put himself in a situation where he could definitely get out the pocket and scramble for yards. He's a tough son of a bitch. He's not going to fold. But shout out to the fucking Bird Gang for what they did today. It was needed. And this is the recipe. That's going to do it for this Eagles and Browns instant reaction video. Again, I said Browns, excuse me, Bengals, Eagles and Bengals. Well, they play like the Browns. Hell, you beat the Browns and the Bengals. So 2 wins against the AFC East. Now you got the Ravens and the Steelers. So teeth of this division is coming up. Looking at Philadelphia's schedule, let me hop on that real quick. Give you an update there where they play next, because it's going to get a little interesting for Philadelphia down this stretch as we go on. Again, I'm just amazed at how they played. Like I said, was not really expecting them to play to that level, to that degree. Saquon, like I said, has got to be put in the MVP conversation. I think we'd be bullshitting ourselves if we don't. Saquon has saved his team this year. And today was one of those days where you saw his greatness, in lieu and in conjunction with Jalen Hurts having a great day. But you see it can be done. And if these guys do this consistently, this team's going to be in there in January. Without a fucking question. Looking here. Yeah, Jacksonville, lost another game to Green Bay today. Kind of on the ropes, kind of looking to win. Need that win. So it's going to do it for this episode. And by the way, that'll be a 4:05 game next week. So it'll be a late game. So you'll be seeing the reaction video late in the evening. But it's going to do it for this episode, guys. I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. Check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well as on Substack. Take care and enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening.